Okay, hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Anti-Order. My name's Josh Cav, and in this episode I wanted to talk about speed wobbles. Now I want to do two videos on speed wobbles because no one's really explained the science behind why a wobble occurs and the reasoning behind it. There's a dog coming here. We want to be very careful because dogs can react very strange to EUCs. I got attacked the other day by a dog, and it was just lucky that he didn't jump in front of me. And obviously if you run over a dog on an EUC, you're more than likely going to crash. Anyway, so if you do see a dog, try and steer clear from them because they can cause issues. Anyway, back to wobbles. Now I'm a fairly new EUC rider and I've got a V14. I'm on the Lynx today and I've had crashes on both of them. I've managed to save all the bad wobbles I've got on the Lynx and not come off of it from a wobble. The V14, however, is not the case. My first bad speed wobble was from hitting a kangaroo at 60 k's an hour. That gave me a speed wobble that literally I was unable to recover. So I wanted to talk about speed wobbles and how I mitigate them and how to ride them out. I may even try and get a wobble to happen purposely, which I really don't like doing because they are quite intimidating when they happen, especially when they happen at high speeds. You've really got to be quick at identifying them and then riding them out. And basically, there's actually quite a technical explanation as to why a wobble happens, but basically I'll have to show a video of a wheel that's, if you've ever seen a physics session where they spin up a push bike wheel and hang it from a string, and sometimes they will actually induce a wobble onto the wheel, or they will just show you how the wheel turns. And interestingly enough, the force that causes a wobble is also the force that makes you able to turn on an EUC. And we've got a busy road today. Trying to wait for a gap to get through. And hopefully we get far out. Right, I'm going after this one. Boys behind me. Well, we got one, we got two. I was using my mirror then to look behind. These mirrors are a must, especially if you're riding around with cars and doing high speeds and crossing over lanes and stuff like that. You need to know what's coming behind you. It's so important. So if you don't have one, get one. Highly recommend it. This is a pit zoom mirror that I have on my helmet, and I'm not affiliated with pit zoom in any way, so that is just a true recommendation. Oh, look at this, we've got a few of the boys out on scooters and push bikes and all sorts. Here we go. Wow. Cheers, boys. Oh, all good.
Look at that, push right.
So, back to wobbles. Now, the turning force that actually allows an EUC to turn is called gyroscopic precession. There's another push bike rider in front of me. I just want to be careful. It's exactly what happened then. I don't have my horn on me. I normally have a PID zoom horn, and just letting people know that you're behind them can stop them from freaking out when you pass them, because people tend to sort of get a shock when they see you on something like this. They're not familiar with someone standing on a wheel looking like bloody RoboCop. So to try and mitigate a flinch that could flinch them into you, you know, like turning sharp like she just did, but she obviously didn't flinch that hard. I've had bike riders on narrow paths flinch and almost hit me before. Actually happened today. I didn't have my camera with me. Didn't hit me, but it was a close call. So anyway, I'll try and leave a link to the description of how gyroscopic precession works. We better stop here. We're at a red light. But basically, it works kind of off 90 degrees to the pressure on where you're pressing. It's hard to explain this while I'm riding, but I'll try and get a video that I can overlay so that you see what we're talking about. I'm just going to go through here because I don't know if this will detect us. Just want to be careful that I'm not riding into any oncoming traffic, which I'm not. But basically, as you put pressure on the wheel to one side, the wheel will want to turn in that direction. So if I put pressure to the left, the wheel will naturally want to turn to the left, and same to the right. And it's not that it's the tire turning, it's actually gyroscopic precession pulling the wheel around. And what happens in a wobble is this force that's pushing down on the pedal actually goes into a circular motion. So the force pressing on the pedal goes into a circular motion, and this can spiral outwards. Just coming past you there. This can spiral outwards, or inwards actually. And as it spirals inwards, like think of when you have a weight on the end of a string and you spin it around, and as it spins around, the string gets shorter, it speeds up, eventually it runs out of energy and it stops, but it gets way faster. And a similar thing happens to a wobble. If you don't intervene, the wobble will get worse and worse and worse, and essentially, if you were looking at it, the wheel kind of turns into a ball. I mean, it's not a ball, but if you... Whoa! That was a quick little avoid there, even with the camera. I'm glad I got that on film. I hope James had the same. Yeah, he's all good. That's how much maneuverability you got on this thing. Avoided that crash like nothing. I didn't even blink. Anyway, so the precession goes around in a circle. Now when a wobble starts, because technically you're turning, but you're turning left, right, up, down in a circular motion. That's what the wobble is. And obviously, to break that cycle, we need to apply pressure in one direction. And that's why the best option when you're faced with a really hardcore wobble is to turn as hard as you can. And by turning, you're interrupting that circular motion of pressure on the wheel and inputting one direction, which in turn will eventually ride the wobble out, and the wobble will go away completely. If you do nothing, it will progressively get worse until it runs out of energy. Now, one of the things I see people doing when they get a bad wobble is they'll try and brake. Now, sometimes this is unavoidable because most of the bad wobbles happens while you're braking. But the problem is, when you're braking, or if you're trying to brake, to intervene a wobble during a brake is quite difficult, because you want to put pressure on the top side of the EUC and force it to lean over in a specific direction. If you're hanging over the back of your ECU, EUC, that's the car side of me coming out of there. You're not going to be able to have that leverage to interrupt the wobble, and you are going to come off. And most people, when they come off in that way, they normally come off falling backwards onto their bum, which I've done it. I'm sure most people have done it. See, like this, in situations like this, we just get right out of the way. So that's why turning is such an important thing to master, especially at speed, because that's the way we intervene a violent wobble. Now, the idea is to stop a wobble before it gets to that point. And I believe, as you ride, when you first start riding EUC, you don't want to just try and go as fast as you can, because I 100% guarantee you will get a wobble, you will come off, and you might not want to ride it ever again. And you just destroyed all of the fun that you could have had on the wheel that you just paid an arm and a leg for. So that's a bit of a scary intersection, that one. So I believe you use specific leg muscles that are not yet developed when you first start riding. And as you ride, these muscles in your legs that you never used before all of a sudden start being used. And these leg muscles are the muscles that identify these wobbles. And as a wobble comes, after you figure out the correct way to, thought he was going to turn. After you figure out the correct way to ride the wobble out, and your brain works it out, and it just happens as a reflex, your muscles in your legs will start growing stronger, the ones that actually counter the wobbles. And you'll feel a wobble coming at speed. And in the beginning, it's quite scary, to be honest. It's very intimidating at first, because it's like anything, when you don't know what you're dealing with, there's always an element of fear involved. But when we know how to manage it and get rid of it, the fear goes away very quickly. And all that's left is confidence. And confidence is key when you want to go fast on a wheel, because if you think you're going to get a speed wobble, guess what's going to happen? So this is why I think the muscles in your legs grow as you ride, and as they grow, your speed will increase. And that's how I think anyone riding new should learn, is by riding slow all the time, riding slow. And then, as you develop the muscles in your legs and you develop the skills in identifying wobbles at slow speeds, and that becomes kind of like muscle memory, Hello. You. See, they love it. All right, let's cross the highway. So yeah, as you develop their muscles, you keep increasing your speed. And if you do it in that order and not just try and go crazy, because believe me, I've had so many tempting moments where you're riding with scooter riders or people and you know you've had a few beers or whatever and everyone's telling you to floor it, because everyone knows how fast the Lynx can go. But you got to have the skills to ride the Lynx at full speed. You can't just get on this wheel and send it, because you'll be sending yourself straight to the bloody hospital is what you'll be doing. So it's important that when you ride at a speed that you're comfortable with mitigating the wobbles out of. And you'll find that your legs will get stronger and you'll be able to ride faster. You still will get the odd wobble, like I still get the odd wobble here and there. But, you know, it just depends on, like even now we're doing a speed where a violent wobble could develop very quickly. But like I said, I've been riding for quite a while now. Well, not really that long. It's been a few months. It's less than a year that I've been riding. So for those of you who are new, you know, don't think it takes a long time to be able to take these wheels to their peak performance. I mean, I've beeped this thing out a couple of times now already. And yeah, that's just riding every day, you know, using them muscles and making them stronger. But another really big point that I'd like to make when it comes to mitigating wobbles is the type of power pads that you have. Power pads are literally a game changer. If you there's so many power pads out there. I've got the power knobs on at the moment, which I like the best, and I'm actually in the middle of designing my own set of power pads for the Lynx and the V14 to begin with. See, there was a slight wobble then on the wheel. But I find the power knobs to be the closest. They're not perfect. Like, I could definitely make them better. I just sneaked past you there, buddy. Just coming past you. See the P-platers, they're egging you on. Come on, show us speed. I mean, I don't want to look down now because I'm concentrating, but we're matching I'd say we're doing about 80, 82, 83. We're keeping up with the highway. Now some people think when you're doing really high speeds you've got to carve all the time. I disagree. I think if you've got your feet really locked in well. Here he is! That was someone I know, but he didn't recognise me. Because I look like RoboCop. Anyway, so the key points I'd like to make when mitigating wobbles is 1, learn slowly and learn at slow speeds. Like seriously, don't try and break records here. See this dog? They're weird. They don't like these wheels. They really don't like these. If they were off the chain, they would attack me. Don't ask me why, but they do. You see that? I don't know why, but some dogs do not like wheels. I don't know why. It's a very strange thing. But if you're cruising along and a dog spots you and he runs up to you, they'll run alongside you doing that, barking and yelling, and you know, all it takes is for one of them to jump in front of the wheel. I don't know what would happen there. I would say if you weren't going fast enough, you'd probably just jump him and you'd be fine. But you potentially could get a very violent wobble from that, which is exactly how I had my first major stack on my V14, was hitting a kangaroo. The initial hit, I was doing 60 k's an hour when I hit the roo, and it didn't actually knock me off. I barreled the roo out of the way. It just bounced off the EUC. But I was left with this violent wobble that I lasted about 3 or 4 seconds on it trying to figure it out. But one thing I did notice that I did, which I never thought I would do, was I leaned right back to try and slow down, which again is the worst possible thing you can do. Do not lean back. If you got a wobble, do not lean back. Stand neutral, right? Stand neutral, stand up, don't stand up straight, but keep your knees slightly bent, and then pull the EUC to one side, or take your pressure off one foot so that you're inputting in one direction, and you'll eventually ride the wobble out. You got to remember too, as you're wobbling, the wobble actually takes the inertia out of the wheel. So the wobble is your brake. You are braking as you're wobbling, so you don't need to lean back. You want to stand up to keep your legs in the middle of that EUC, bloody hell, so that you can pull that top over, left or right. Even if you only have, you might not have a lot of movement. Like, let's just say you're on a track like this, you wouldn't normally get a wobble on a track like this. It's more like, oh, here we go. I'm not going to be able to. Whoa. There we go. Everything's still attached. Alright, let's go. So, there's my little take on wobbles, guys. And I hope that anyone learning EUC will watch this and gain some valuable insight into hopefully not having a bad crash, because that's the worst. I mean, I literally, when I had my crash with my kangaroo incident, I literally just jumped straight back on the machine. Even though I grazed the whole backside of my back. I'm just going to get off this road here. I rode back home and licked my wounds, and I was back riding 2 days later. So if you do crash, don't be scared to jump back on that horse and get back out there and get riding, because the crashes are just a part of the sport. and that's why we wear the gear we wear, so that we don't pull bark off all over us. We've got another little guy with a dog up here. The little dogs don't necessarily attack. They're not too bad. Hey, going. Some people, they get the funniest looks on people's faces. They just, I swear you could do a video on just people's faces. It's so funny. Some of the things people say too, they just, it's pretty cool. Anyway, so now I'm going back towards Smithfield on a new trail. Well, we're not on the new trail yet, this is quite an old trail, but on a brand new trail, and we're going to push some high speeds, and hopefully there's no one on it. Another thing I'll mention too, when you're riding around where there's people, respect that people, some people get freaked out by these things. Most people just smile and high five and they love it. But there is the odd person that freaks out. You never know who you're going to come across. So just be respectful to them people, and just slow down as you don't come zooming past people, because all you're basically going to do is create a bad name for the sport. This is such a niche sport. It's so new. There's not many people in the world that actually ride. I was talking to a guy today that reckons there's only around about 20,000 riders in the world, which is not a lot. So it's a relatively new sport to the world, and there's been a lot of issues that have been overcome with electrical cutouts and limitations of the wheels, and I believe we're coming to a point where they're starting to make bulletproof wheels, like they're really starting to make some good products, especially the wheel I'm on, the Veteran Lynx. This is an awesome wheel. I mean, especially since I've put the power pads on it. I mean, I love my V14 as well, don't get me wrong. There are, depending on what you want to do, like if you want to go on trails and just send it, and I mean really accelerate up to high speeds and do awesome carving, which I'm going to show you guys. There's a cool track up here where we can do some speeds and some high speed turns. The Lynx is the wheel of choice. But when we get to the off-road sector, the V14 is our number one contender there, for me anyway. I like the nimbleness of the V14, but I have to say, since I've been riding the Lynx more, and since I got some new power pads, the Lynx has become a lot more nimble than it used to be. But I mean, just simple fact that the V14's got a smaller circumference wheel, it's a smaller unit, it's roughly around the same weight. There's about I think it's only like 2 kilos in difference with the weight. So it's quite a heavy machine, the V14, but it's a tank and it is an awesome wheel. Either one of these wheels are awesome. I'm at that point in the afternoon where it's just getting on dusk and the bugs are starting to come out, which can be quite scary at high speed. I had a bug hit me in my eye the other week at like 60 k's an hour or something, and it fully gave me a black eye. Like, it was terrible, to be honest. It really hurt, and it actually made me flinch on the wheel, and that gave me a speed wobble, which I was able to ride out, but same time, it's definitely got me a little bit spooked riding at this time when the bugs come out. I was going to grab I've got a clear set of safety goggles that I normally take with me, but I forgot them today. Anyway, we can open her up on these. Now, I'm normally a little bit more jumpy on the gas, but believe it or not, holding this camera on the end of this big stick, the wind pressing against it actually changes the whole balance on the wheel. And this is something that if anyone's doing high-speed runs on a wheel holding a camera, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it can be scary, especially when you get a gust of wind that pushes it to the side, and it actually makes you turn. So it's just something that you want to be wary of. Like at the moment, I'm getting slightly pushed to my left, and I'm fighting it with my the top of my shin pushing against the wheel. But as you can see, like I'm sitting on a fairly decent speed now, without carving or, you know, just sort of riding the trail. Scooter coming the other way. What I like to do too, whenever I transition from acceleration to brake, now obviously in an emergency situation it's a little bit different, but if you got the time, transition to just center and then transition into brake. If you do that, you will learn the position to put your legs in and the position to hit the pads, and you will not even get even the slightest wobble on your brake. And if you do get a slight wobble on your brake, just pull your whole body back for a second and just reef on the brake. I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I'm coming around here and I get a little wobble, I'll just pull it back. Now that, you saw that wobbled a little bit harder then. That one didn't. Let's just see if we can get across this road first. They got green. See, every car is driving and they're not even looking where they're going. They're looking at this thing. How's the ride so far? Going good?
All good.
Right, they're going and they're going. Alright. They got green that way. They're stopping. Alright, let's go. Alright, let's try some braking. So you can see there, the hard transition. If you jump on it right, you won't even get a wobble. See, there's some transitions there. Another thing that I'll point out when I'm riding is I always try and keep my legs a little bit bent, or my knees, sorry, a little bit bent. The only time I really straighten them is if I'm really pushing hard on an acceleration, but even when doing that, you have to be careful, because if you hit a bump while your knees are straight, it can throw your whole body upwards, and it's a very, very awkward and scary feeling when it happens, especially if you're going at speed. So you want to be careful with that. Anyway guys, I think that's going to be my video for today. I hope you've enjoyed the ride. I'm going to put this camera away and actually send this unit and have some fun with it. It's always a little bit tricky when you're holding the camera. If you like the content so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I don't really make any money out of this, but who knows, if I get enough subscribers, maybe I might make some money. So that would be very much appreciated if you could click that subscribe button. Anyway, I'm going to sign off now. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you for the next adventure of Anti-Order, which I'll be recording this weekend. We're going to be going up a dirt trail to a massive waterfall and going swimming. I'm going to capture the whole thing on camera, so stay tuned. We'll see you next time, guys.